Hello there. It is Wednesday morning, episode 176. So that can only mean one thing. We are doing an interview, a video interview. And it's one of my very, very good friends. He's called Phil Scaife. And as soon as I started this podcast, I knew that I had to get this person on. And the reason being is that this person has been so important to my journey. Without Phil, I don't believe that I would be in this position right now. I don't believe that I would be doing this podcast right now. And it was all because, and we do go into the story, so I won't go into the story too much. It was all because he dragged me to somebody called Tony Robbins event. And all I knew, it was cost loads of money. I didn't really know anything about Tony Robbins at the time. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't really know who Tony Robbins was 5-6 years ago. And since then, that has propelled me on this incredible self-development journey where I just devour books, podcasts, and I just learn and educate myself. I was always an entrepreneur before that, but I was never, I don't know really how to put this. I was successful. I'd sold a business for over £250,000, but I was never, I don't know. I actually don't know how to get this out or how to explain it. But it changed the way I thought about business. It changed the way I thought about myself. And it changed the whole dynamic of my relationship with money and my relationship with just business in general. And without that event, I don't think it would have propelled me to where I am now. And the person who made me, who dragged me there, was Phil Scaife. And he's on the podcast today. And I don't know whether I'd go to a Tony Robbins. Would I go to another one? I don't know. It's a great question. Probably would, but it's an intensive 4 days. And thoroughly enjoyed it. And it changed my life. And I recommend it to everybody because you will go on a development journey, a development path for those 4 days that money just can't buy. And anyway, stop. I'm just gabbling on about this. Right. Anyway, you've come here to talk to Phil Scaife. Here he is. It's a great episode. He's a fantastic business guy. He's got multiple businesses and he's just bought a holiday home on the beachfront. And I went and visited him last Friday with the family. And he's got the business, he's got the time as well. And that's why I admire him so much because he's always put his family first and he'll never ever change. Business and work and money come second to his business. And it just connects into everything that I believe as well. So without any further ado, here is Phil. Enjoy the episode. I'm sure you'll get something out of it. Every time I talk to this man, I get something new to take away, and I've got something you'll learn like later on in the interview. I get so much out of this. All right, dudes, stop talking, Dean. Just get to Phil. All right, here is Phil Scaife. Phil Scaife, thank you so much, buddy, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. Good to be here.
Excellent. So, firstly, tell the listeners a bit about you, what you do, and give us a little glimpse of that personal life of yours.
Okay, yeah. So, well, obviously we've been friends for a long time. Got most important part, my family is me and my wife Keris, and we've got 3 kids. So we've got an 11-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old, which is
busy,
fun and fireworks. and so for the past 15 years, been sort of setting up and growing multiple businesses, and been on a journey of self-development with you. And and now I've, I think, reached a point where last year I trained as a life coach, and so I guess I can add coach to the CV as well.
Do you know what? I wanna just say thank you to you as well publicly on this podcast, because if it wasn't for you dragging me to a Tony Robbins event 5 or so years ago, this podcast wouldn't ever be happening. And I remember you ringing me up and said, Dean, is this? And if I'm honest, I didn't even know who Tony Robbins was back then. And it's just incredible the journey I've been on. And as soon as I got there, I could hear loads of, went to this big seminar down in London, a big conference hall, the Excel, I think it was. And I was signing up, and all of a sudden I can hear boom, boom, boom music. And I was thinking, there's a concert going on next door, not even understanding that what Tony Robbins is all about. And all of a sudden we went into that room with all the music and there's people dancing. And after that, I was completely hooked on self-development, reading books, bettering myself. And if it weren't for you, brother, and I would never be in the position I'm in now. My business would never be in the position I'm in now. We're pre-interview, we talked about our kids and being able to spend time with our kids. Like, we're taking our kids to tennis after this, and it's a normal work day at 9 a.m. And so if it wasn't for you, buddy, I'd never be in this position. So massive gratitude and thanks to you, pal.
Yeah, I really appreciate the sentiment, what you're saying. But I mean, I've seen your journey since then, and I know that, yeah, there was a bit of a spark in sort of like just explaining to you who he was. But I mean, the ignition from there, from your side, is just incredible. And what a lion's den to go into as a first one. I mean, it must have. I think the ticket price was 5 figures. It was a biggie, wasn't it? And to turn up for that 4 or 5 day intensive and
changed my life. Honestly, genuinely changed my life. Different trajectory now. And I often think about the butterfly effect and what my life would have been like if it wasn't for that event and where I'd be going. And I know that I would never be in the position I am in right now if it wasn't for that event. So, Phil, I genuinely consider you as one of my best friends. But if people ask what you do and where you make your money, Even I don't know. So where do you get most of your revenue from? I know you've got multiple businesses, but can you just break them down a little bit? Wait, what do you do? When someone asks you that question, saying, what do you do? How do you answer it?
Well, as soon as I can answer that question, I'll let you know. And so then we'll both be able to. I mean, so our family revenue is split between sort of businesses that we've set up. So we've got some in engineering and construction and the salon world, digital marketing, and property. We're heavily in property and on the Airbnb side of things. So they're the sort of like the three areas for us.
I've always heard you say before that you're a father first and a husband second and a businessman third. Or something like that.
Right, yeah. So I've got a really, really cheesy acronym for that.
Oh.
So Phil. So I'm a parent, P. Yeah. I'm a husband, H. And then I'm an investor, I. And now I'm a life coach, L.
That is awesome. I absolutely love it.
I don't say that to many people because I just feel it's a little bit cheesy, but it just
it fits. It fits.
Right.
So we've all heard about where my entrepreneurial journey started. I mean, it started a long time before. I had businesses a long time before that, but it really started to really progress after that Tony Robbins event. When did you start, and how did you start your entrepreneurial journey?
So without realizing it, and it's amazing how many people have got the playground entrepreneur story. When you ask the question, mine was the tuck shop got closed at school. And after a few weeks of all of us wanting sweets, I happened to be, my mum had a little catering business, and she took me to the wholesalers with her just to help carry. And I saw the boxes of sweets and how cheap they were. So with that, I used my pocket money to buy a few boxes of sweets, put them in my school bag, no school books, started selling them. Within a few weeks, I had 2 friends who were meeting me at my house in the morning. We were all like taking our books out and putting sweets in, and then going off to school and selling them. So I had 2 guys sort of like selling for me, and then that was the first journey. It came to an end when the litter became a problem, and I got asked to stop because obviously we were just selling in the playground. There were just sweet wrappers everywhere, but yeah, I think the very basics of seeing a demand, buying something low, and then selling it high, and serving a need. I think that's where that one started. And I know my wife Keris, like we've had that conversation. She did very similar. She's a business owner now as well. And Cooper's just started a little side hustle as well. He's 11 years old. So, I think And I'm pretty sure you've got a similar sort of playground business as well, didn't you?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did, exactly the same. And excuse me, me and my family used to go out for tea every single Sunday, and we used to have the tomato sauces used to be like 5 or 7 pence at school, and so I used to nick the whole the tub of them, and I used to take them to school, and I used to sell them for 2 pence each, and it wasn't a lot of money, but I absolutely love that. I used to get car boots, sell, buy stuff from factories, and then sell it at car boots. I absolutely loved it. I loved just making money. I loved going out, earning a little bit of money, like car washing. I had a car washing business where I had 2 sets of, exactly like you, I had some people going out washing cars for me. I used to get the orders and they used to fulfill it, so I didn't have to wash the cars. It was great. But it segues into my next question perfectly. Do you believe that you have to have that sort of background to be a business owner and an entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a great question. And I'm not sure whether the people that are around me that have resonated with me and I've kept them close, they've all got similar stories and we're all doing a similar journey. I guess I've never really spoken and asked that question of people who aren't business owners and who haven't got that mindset, and to see if they were more sort of like following the motions. It's a nature nurture question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And maybe there's something that at an early age just pushes you enough in that direction and just starts you on that journey at an early age. I don't think I really did anything until I then came out of university. So it was there, but it was very much sleeping. So it was almost a tap that could be turned on and off. So yeah, and answer your question, nature, nurture, is it there? It was for me. It was for me. We had healthy conversations at home about money and about so like work-life balance and things like that. So I think there is a large portion of what my parents were talking to me about, sort of just percolating in the background.
Yeah, I'm just writing something down of what you just said then. But my answer to that question is, I believe that because a lot of people listening have just started that journey and they might not have had that journey at school. And I believe that you can be a business owner, you can be an entrepreneur. It's just all about knowledge, and it's about everything else, putting the time, the effort in to learn something. And I believe it's a learnable skill, and it's great if you've had it at school. But a lot of my mentors, like JLD, John Lee Dumas, who came on the podcast, he's never had a business idea in his life until he came out of the army and started up a podcast, and now he's earning 7 figures every single month just from a podcast. So yeah, I believe that it can be learned. And talking about your kids and stuff and healthy conversations that you have, we was in Hornsey, a seaside town, and my sister was there with us and with all the kids and stuff. And there was on one of these grabber machines, where you try to grab the teddy bears and stuff. You put £1 in and you get 5 goes. And Samantha said, "Oh, I'm never going to win it." And my little boy Kai, who's 4 years old, said, "Samantha, Auntie Sam, you never get what you want if you quit. You can't quit." And I was like, "Yes, well, that's brilliant." And as it happens, she put another £1 in and she won the grab. And he goes, "See, he won this teddy bear." Brilliant. And I was like, "Oh my God, this has just reinforced his beliefs around that." I thought that was incredible. I loved it.
He's going to be on stage, that kid.
Absolutely. So, Phil, you've got many different businesses. What KPIs do you look at to make sure the business is on track?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So obviously they vary between the businesses, and right now with them, the salons are very much at the front of my mind because they've just reopened. So that's got a very financial matrix, but the fundamental one is basically more customers in than last month. That's at the absolute basic, and that's because that business is very much it's a machine gun approach, whereas you're trying to hit a lot of people in what I call we try and be 5 mile famous.
Yes, so, I love it.
So that's a machine gun in a short area, in a small area, and we look at how many people we've hit and how many people we've converted. And we sort of measure that month by month. Obviously, for most of this year, it's been figures that haven't worked, but now we're starting to be able to build it. the steelwork and the engineering is much more sniper rifle. You know, you've got the whole of the UK, but you haven't got many potential clients in the UK. So you're trying to pop them off with a sniper rifle. It's a much longer relationship, and that one is the KPIs in there is really contracts delivered and turnover versus costs. So that's a very financial one.
Yeah, that's great. We must obviously listen to the same sort of people, because I don't think we've ever talked about it before. But in my storage, I say we've got to be 3 mile famous. That's what I say on the podcast about storage. We have to be 3 mile famous. If anybody thinks or talks about storage, they have to think Stormore and around that 3 mile area. And so we must get obviously the same people we listen to and stuff. And,
yeah, I'm sure.
The number one for me has got to be revenue. It's for me in the storage, because there's so many different KPIs that I can focus on, and I've got spreadsheets galore, because I'm a real numbers guy. I love seeing all my numbers, but you can drown in numbers. And so the biggest one that I tell everybody that I'm talking to about self-storage is revenue, because without revenue, we're dead. It's our option. So we need revenue. Obviously, there's other KPIs that make up the revenue number, but for me, revenue is the number one. So Phil, I love this question. What are the biggest needle movers in your business? What is the 20% of effort that gives you 80% of your results? Or in your life even?
So I would say it's communication. And that's internal communication and external communication. So for example, and again, I'm sticking with the salon here, retail is really, really difficult, because people see it as selling, and they immediately jump to the double glazing salesman who's knocked on your door and put his foot in, and you can't get rid of him. And so speaking to the team about how selling is the wrong word in the salon. It's all about serving and helping. And if you're not explaining the products that people should be using at home in order to protect what they've just paid a lot of money for and to make it last longer and their well-being, then you're doing them a disservice. And it's like, would you want your mum to spend all that money and then just go to a cheap shop and get a cheap shampoo and knacker it? Or do you want to help your mum and say, look, I know it's a bit more, but it's value, and etc. And so that sort of communication on a regular basis, all of a sudden the retail figures start moving. And then just communication externally through social media or email marketing or whatever, just explaining about the true who you are as a business, as an organization, and getting that message out. We're just seeing it, especially recently, we're just seeing it exponentially. At the moment, we're talking a lot about safety, and you think everyone knows. And it's amazing how you just put one message out. It's like, oh no one knew. And now the needle's moved, and the needle's moved. So I would say at this point in time, with regards to within the business, is communication, and that can be closely linked with I guess education.
Oh, I absolutely love that, because that's exactly what we do. It's all about reframing the mindset of the people who work in your organization and work with you. I had an interesting conversation with somebody on the podcast about insurance, because we got Hacking Self-Storage podcast. There was another storage owner, and we charge insurance. A great deal of our revenue comes from insurance, but not a lot of self-storage owners actually use this as a revenue model. And for me, it's you're looking after the customer, because yes, charging insurance, it definitely helps your bottom line, but ultimately it's better for the customer as well, because without them being there, without them insuring their goods, if anything happens, heaven forbid, that they've insured a £5,000 sofa for £1,000, then they're going to be upset with you. They're going to walk away being an unhappy customer, and you never ever want that. So you're protecting the customer as well, making sure they're not over insuring the goods, but they're correctly insuring the goods. You'd never buy a Ferrari and then lie to the insurance company and say it's a Mini. So why would you do that with insurance, with self-storage? And so I'm trying to teach the business owners and self-storage owners that this is an incredible revenue stream for us. But it's a win-win because it's not only helping us, it's helping the customer as well. Because unfortunately, things do happen. A leak happens, or we get a hole in the roof or something, and there is insurance claims. There's only probably 2 or 3 insurance claims for the whole year out of across the 2 facilities, and we've got maybe 1,000 customers. So it's unlikely, but if it does happen, you'd rather be correctly insured. And it's only a couple of quid extra a week, but when you've got so many extra customers in there, that couple of quid mounts up to a substantial revenue amount.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And it's doing the right thing. And I think with regards to sort of internal communication, if a business owner is learning and listening to podcasts and audiobooks and absorbing in order to empower the team is probably not listening to podcasts and audiobooks and so you become that resource to them. And if you were to listen to one podcast a year, you'd only have a certain memory or level of knowledge from that. But if you listen to them regularly, and that's where the internal communication, I think, comes in, almost being like the internal podcast to the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So Phil, if you could pick up your phone to a 20-year younger version of yourself or a 20-year-old version of yourself, what would you say to him?
Be more confident, take more risks.
Take more risks.
Yeah, absolutely. Or maybe take risks quicker. I look back with fond memories at all the different risk points in my life, and when the outcome is not what you expected it to be, and some people, I'm being very careful here, some people would perceive that as the negative outcome. It's not only very rare, it's just non-existent that is actually a truly negative outcome. It's always pulled together and worked out for the better. And I wonder where I would be right now if I'd accelerated the risks that I'd taken.
Yeah, we was having a conversation on Friday on the beach, and I remember one thing that you said to me, and I've thought about it quite a lot after you said it, is exactly that: take more risks. And you said that everything good that's happened to me is because I took a risk, and that's 100% true. In life, unfortunately, you have to take risks. It's a risk and reward basis. And as soon as you said that, I went home, had a think about it, and I thought, you know what, that is because I always have a takeaway of when I speak to you. I always learn something, and for me that was incredible. And at the time, I was waiting to buy a blogging site, and the perfect blogging site came up for me, a content site, and on Monday it came up. And I was umming and ahhing. I was going to speak to a mentor of mine about blogging, but I couldn't speak to him until it's a week on Friday. And I got an email later that day, the blogging site has been sold. And I was like, Phil said take more risk. And if I just took more risk, it might not have worked out. But the beauty is, if it doesn't work out, if you take a risk and it fails, you learn something from it. The biggest risk that I took, and I often mention it on the podcast, is Lazo, the restaurant. And it was a massive risk and it was a massive failure. But guess what? It was the biggest learning curve in my life. It was the best thing ever to happen to me. It didn't feel like it at the time, but it really was a momentous shift in my life. And it was horrible at the time. I lost 6 figures. But would I ever change that risk? No, because I learned so much from that.
Yeah. The other thing is, on Monday, when you missed out on that site, if you could bottle up that feeling, how that felt, and then the next time you got a decision to make, unbottle that and feel it again. It's like, whoa, it really sort of like focuses you. You don't want to suffer that. You'd rather take the risk and accept all of the possibilities that risk gives you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've taken control.
Yeah, I've got another mentor as well in that space, and I mentioned it to him, and his words were to me, "It looks too good to be true," and I would stay away from it because it looks too good to be true. And that little sentence stopped me pulling the trigger. It might have been too good to be true, but there's only one way of finding. Now I'll never know, and that hurts. It really does hurt, and I wish I could go back, but never mind. So, Phil, what does success look like to you? Because there's loads of different success, but success to me is different to a success, normal man in the street or whoever. So, what does success look like to you?
Well, I mean, it's changed, as I'm sure it has for you as well. As you grow and evolve, and it's definitely a lot less sort of monetary based or anything like that. I think, I mean, I feel successful when after I take a risk, even before I know how it's going to know that I've still got that in me, and I'm prepared to take a risk, and I'm prepared to grow, and to learn. But I mean, I know we keep talking about the beach, and when I was first there, I remember I was walking along the beach, and it was in an evening, and it was just very. I mean, it's a local beach to here. It's nothing tropical or anything like that. You know, it's not white sands or anything, but it was just me, you know, close friends, family, just on the beach in an evening. And it was like, there's nothing more that's needed right here. There's nothing. I dilute it down to connection. I dilute it down to success for me is the connections that you have with the close people around you, and with yourself, and understanding and knowing who you are, and being connected and being present with the people who are important with you. Like us two on Friday, the Friday there, that was just a successful moment, that, you know, we were both there, we weren't anywhere else, and there was just a real nice connection and purity to it. So that's how I define success now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many people, I believe, are wanting and craving something that isn't really success. So they might be wanting money, and do you know what? Money's great and everything like that, but is it really success? Success to me is, I've just done a podcast about this, which will be coming out in a week or so. And what success is to me, that I look back, and you're so lucky, and people take things for granted. I've got 2 healthy kids. I've got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. They're healthy. I've got a mum and dad who are still alive. But even if I just stop there at the kids, a healthy 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, me and my wife have a really good relationship. Boom. That's it. That is success. And so many people are craving for something that they might never achieve, and they're not happy until they get X, Y, and Z. I'll be happy. I'll be more fulfilled when I get there. But really, if you actually look at your life, I promise you there's something in your life right now that you have got that somebody will be looking at with envious eyes. Whether it be 2 healthy kids, whether it be a good relationship with your wife, whether it be a relationship with your sisters, your mum, your dad, whatever it may be, or you've got plenty of friends, there'll be somebody envious of your position right now. So I just think that people think they're going to be happy in the future when they get X, when they get Y, when they succeed here, when they get the promotion. But really, success and happiness, it can be right now, when you just look around you and feel just happy in what you've got, and content with who you are and who's closest to you. So for me, I love that question, because you get so many different answers. Here's another good question for you, Phil. What does your life look like in 12 months' time? How does it change from now, or does it change from now?
That is a great question. How different is it in 12 months' time? So we've got the salons, where they need to be to take the stress out of it, for my wife, because obviously the hairs, and she runs them. And I think if in 12 months' time we're there, then that again changes the dynamic. I will also throw in that we have, as a family, discussed moving abroad for a year, and with school years and things, that should happen in 12 months' time.
Whoa, I've never actually heard you say that. That is a conversation that me and you need to have as well later, because the amount you'll learn from that, I know that I've talked about that with Claire, and she says no straight away, but it'll have been an amazing experience for you and the family to move abroad. I think it's fantastic. What is your why, Phil? How do you stay motivated?
School holidays, school plays, school award ceremonies, school drop-off, school pickup. I don't miss any of those. I don't have to miss any of those. And you know, as long as I've got that, and I'm there for my family, then I know that whatever else is going on is right for me, and is right for us.
Yeah.
So that's my initial answer to it, I think.
Yeah, I talk about my why quite a lot on this podcast, and my why is basically, and it's been really enhanced recently as well. There's a family member in my wife's side who's had some sort of heart problem for the past 5 weeks. He's been in and out of hospital, and he finally collapsed yesterday, and he's absolutely fine. But they believe as a family that they haven't had the best treatment, because nothing's been fixed. They've got no answers. And for me, my why is to make sure that we can afford the best doctor, the best advice on the planet, if it comes to my dad's health, my wife's health, my mum's health, my sister's health. I want to be in a position where I can fly to America, I can fly to wherever the best treatment is, that I can help my kids. And that why has come from when my 4-year-old had septicemia in hospital for 14 nights, and we wasn't getting the answers. We wasn't getting good treatment. We was going backwards and forwards. It wasn't looking good at one point, and that really has. It's implanted something in me where I never ever want to feel in that position, completely helpless, but I can't help somebody I love. I want to be making sure that I can do everything in my power to help the situation and progress the situation to have a positive outcome. And money will definitely help that. That's why that's the only reason my money is important to me.
You're right. When money equals health, that's a completely different conversation and equation. When money equals a yacht or a Ferrari or something like that, then it's a massive turn off. But yeah, when it equals the health of the people who are important to you around you, then absolutely. Yep. I totally agree.
My life is absolutely perfect the way it is now. I don't need any extra money. I don't want any extra money for my standard of living, what I've got now. I don't need, I don't want it. I do want it, but I don't need it. I don't crave the money to get the Ferrari to do that. I already have everything that I could want in my life. But what I don't have is that money, is that fund there to say, right, there we go. We've got X amount of money. Go and find the best doctor. Who can we have there right now? I remember Alan Sugar actually had an operation on Boxing Day because he had a problem. I think it was with his heart. I could be wrong, but he had a problem, and he went off to America, flew off to America on Boxing Day and had an operation because he could pay enough money to get that guy out of his Boxing Day, whatever he was doing with his family, and to operate on him on Boxing Day. And that for me is my why and what keeps me motivated.
Yeah.
So Phil, I know the time. We've got to get to tennis with our kids. So I've got 5 quick questions, buddy. 1 sentence answers. What does your perfect day look like?
Perfect day right now involves the bodyboarding on a beach.
Yeah. And what's a daily habit that contributes to your success?
Getting to bed before 11 p.m.
Right here. And what scares you?
Health. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I've asked a good question when somebody doesn't have an immediate reaction. If I asked 5 of your closest friends what your superpower is, what would they say to me?
Oh, and I've got this from you. Oh, that's not 1 sentence. Taking knowledge or something complex or something and summarizing it down in an educational kind of way.
Oh, absolutely. There's only one man on the planet I think can do it as well as you, and that's James Franco. He has an amazing ability, and so do you, where I can come at you with this massive big problem. I can talk to you for 10 minutes and you can just give me literally a paragraph of an answer, and it sums it all up and it answers it as well. And I think that is something that I wish I had.
I'll go in the same sentence as James all day long.
And recommend 1 book.
Yeah, that's hard, isn't it? You can see my bookshelf here. You know, you're as addicted as I am. It's different for each person. I guess for me, I'm going to throw in Inside Out Revolution.
Oh, I've never even heard of that, Phil.
Yeah, that's why I threw it in. I thought it'd be off your radar.
What's it about?
So the premise of it, and there's a great analogy in there, is that things that happen in life, things that happen around you, whatever they might be, are not real. The only thing that is actually real is your reaction and perception of them. So if you break your leg and lose your job, whatever it might be, if you see that as a bad thing and you take that in as a negative, then you've created that as a negative thing. However, if like the next week, like the dream job comes along and it's a writing job because you can't use your leg and that's what you've always wanted, then your perception changes to it being a positive event. But in actual fact, the moment it happened, you had the power to say, the only thing that counts here is my inside on what's happened on the outside, the inside out revolution.
Phil, yeah, you've probably seen me. People who are watching this won't see me smiling all the way through that, because that is right up my street. And it goes down to what Tony Robbins says: things happen to us. Things happen for us, not to us. Yeah. And I think that is so true. If you can cheer, good and bad things happen to us every single day of the week, but we don't know which is which until the future. So a bad thing, you might, like Lazo, I considered the worst thing ever happened to me. But guess what? It was the best thing to happen to me. And equally, the best thing that could happen to you today could ultimately be a really bad thing, come years' time. So I will definitely check that out, buddy.
Yeah. Just on that, I know you said one book, but the life coach that helped me a lot a couple of years ago and also trained me as a life coach, he was the one who recommended that book to me. So I'm passing that on. That's John. And John has written a book called Connect Me Happy. And I just wanted to do a shameless plug there because he means a lot to me. He's a brilliant guy. And I think his book deserves some promotion because it's just full of great value.
Is it an Audible?
It is not an Audible yet. It's working on the Audible right now. It is a sit down and actually read. So I know most of us are audiobooks now. Audiobook coming soon.
Awesome. Yeah. You regular listeners will know that I cannot read for toffee. I am a terrible reader. And what's his surname?
Borland.
John, sorry?
John Borland.
John Borland.
Yeah,
right,
we'll put the link in the show notes.
We will, but that's what I was just going to say. Joe, my awesome virtual assistant, will put the links in the show notes. Phil, thank you for your time, brother. I really appreciate it, pal. And if anybody wants to find out more about you, where would they go?
If they jump on Facebook, they'll find the Business Lockdown or Pink Media. Business Lockdown is a podcast show that myself and my business partner James are doing at the moment. You find me there, or Pink Media, which is spelled with a Q, PINQ. Again, you'll find me there. Just get in touch. If I can help, I certainly will.
We'll put all links to them in the show notes. Thanks for your time, Phil. I really, really appreciate it, buddy.
Pleasure's mine. Thanks.